last man to be denied an organ transplant by the Arizona Republican death panel died on Sunday. The death of Mark Price, a father, not yet 40, was caused by complications related to his leukemia and chemotherapy which had to succeed before his bone marrow transplant could take place. The death panel, therefore, not responsible in this case for Price's death. But in our third story tonight, the head of the death panel, Arizona Governor Jan Brewer, reacted to Mr. Price's passing, to his crusade against the state's decision stripping coverage for these transplants, defended her death panel, and explained that Arizona's death panel considers life-saving organ transplants optional. Don't take my interpretation for it. Listen to Governor Brewer herself less than 24 hours after Mr. Price passed away, giving the death panel rationale for rationing care because organ transplants are, quote, optional.
The state only has so much money, and we can only provide so many optional kinds of care, and those were one of the options that we had taken liberty to discard, to dismiss.
We have reported on this news hour about Arizona families abandoned by the governor's death panel. Fathers Francisco Felix and Randy Shepard stripped of their state Medicaid coverage of the organ transplants they need, liver and heart. They are hardly the only ones. An estimated 95 other people in Arizona right now are waiting for life-saving organs. 95 people who will be denied them because Arizona's Republican legislature and Republican governor decided earlier this year to remove those transplants from state Medicaid coverage. That decision based on false information provided by two companies, one of them owned by United Healthcare, including claims that many of the transplants do not work. Transplants including bone marrow, even though some Republican legislators acknowledge the lie beneath their vote and are calling for a revote on the issue. Governor Brewer has rejected bipartisan calls for a special session of the legislature to fix her mess at a cost of about $5 million, claiming that she cannot use any of the more than $30 million in stimulus funds she has because those funds, she says, have already been allocated elsewhere. Allocated, not spent. Allocated how, she refuses to say, so far not complying with requests for public records by local newspapers and others. Allocated by Brewer as recently as 2 days before she yanked the transplant money to instead spend it on things like a $2 million center to study algae as an alternative fuel. Responding to the Price's death and his family's crusade for the state to cover more people, Governor Brewer called for a different kind of response, a special election to cut more people from state Medicaid. 300,000 to be left without any insurance whatsoever. Let's turn now to Arizona State Representative Ana Tovar, a Democrat who opposed these cuts. Thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you.
The coverage that was taken away from Mr. Price, bone marrow transplant to treat his leukemia, Republicans cut it based on this state commission study that says it doesn't work. Can you explain why you in particular could have told them differently about this?
Well, definitely, I am living proof that transplants work. I've had 2 transplants, stem cell and a bone marrow, actually by the same doctor, by Mark Price, the same facility. So I am living proof that transplants do work.
Governor Brewer is literally choosing not to spend money, millions that she has on hand, to pay for these transplants and actions like this. What, to your knowledge, is she using it for instead?
Well, we did find out that she's used over $2 million on algae research, and also another $1.5 million on restoring a roof to the Veterans Coliseum. But yet she's yet to answer any of our requests on what she spent the $30 million that she has available.
Do you suppose if you could have a ribbon cutting ceremony at every transplant that she would suddenly be in favor of these transplants for the state Medicaid?
Well, definitely. I mean, there needs to be something done, and the governor needs to spend her money wisely. These are taxpayers' money that she is spending. So, as taxpayers of Arizona, they have every right to question on what she's spending her money on. And it would be, a disgrace not to be able to save hundreds of lives here in Arizona by spending a little bit of that, funds that she does have.
And this latest report that the governor wants to cut more than 300,000 Arizonans entirely from Medicaid, what would happen to them?
Well, they would be without health care. That means they would flood our emergency rooms. There'd be kids without immunizations, without their primary health care. I mean, this would absolutely be ridiculous in Arizona not to have people getting basic primary health care.
Representative Tovar, is there any acknowledgement among Arizona's Republicans in public or in private that they have in fact created in Arizona the very death panel that they fantasized about during the debate over the federal health care reform project?
Well, the chairman of Appropriations, who's a Republican, has come out and said that they've made a mistake. There was an error in the information that they have received. But as to date, the governor or the Republicans have yet to have any action to bring this forward and, to create a solution, because people's lives are at stake. And there's easy solutions that could come about that can solve, this crisis and save people's lives and giving them a second chance at life, like I did.
The governor believed that there were bodies with heads cut off in the Arizona desert. She believed that, that even though it said it in front of her in the script, that her opening remarks at the debate were not her opening remarks. And now she believes that transplants don't work. Is she just gullible? Is she just believe whatever somebody has told her, provided she believes who the person is? Or what is this some sort of, does she see things? What is wrong with the governor of your state?
I don't know what is wrong with her, because she's gotten the correct information. It was actually my bone marrow doctor that has come about to bring factual information, not only to her, but to other, senators and here in the state of Arizona. So she has the correct information about, over 42% who do get a transplant do make it and do survive. So I'm not sure, what she's reading into it or what she's not reading into it, but the facts are clear, is that people do survive. And they can be productive members of society. I mean, if you look at me, I'm living proof that, even though, I was deathly ill, I got a life-saving transplant. And now, I consider myself a very productive member of society and trying to help out as best I can in serving the public.
Arizona State Representative Anna Tovar, a continued improved health to you, and great thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you.
And about your continuing generosity on this, the National Transplant Assistance Fund informs us that since we first reported on this story and the death panel decision against the Felix and Shepard families, it has received $95,000 in donations towards their transplants. And they've only been able to update that number through last Wednesday. Francisco Felix's transplant would cost upwards of $200,000. Randy Shepard's $1 million. Those who care to donate can do so at NTA Fund. That's one word, ntafund.org.